Hi everyone, my name is Nora Crone. I'm a violist in New York City, co-founder of the Till Project for String Players, and a musician's focal dystonia recovery advocate. In this video, we're going to explore a concept that comes up quite a lot with injury recovery and instrumental technique in general, which is a very important factor in dystonia recovery: playing naturally. Before we get into that, I just want to mention that if you are new here, you may wish to check out some of my previous videos where I explain more about the process that helped me recover from dystonia. I'll leave some links down below, but in essence, through learning a system of playing called the Till approach with a violinist named Sophie Till, I gradually changed my brain through movement and my symptoms slowly disappeared. After 2 years of regular lessons, I returned to professional playing, and now I have the privilege of assisting others, primarily violists and violinists, in their recovery. So the concept of natural playing or natural technique is obviously not unique to the world of dystonia recovery or even just injuries. But I often find that it comes up a lot in explaining this recovery process to other people, and so I thought it was worth clarifying. Most of us have probably encountered two basic attitudes about the idea of natural playing. Let's talk about the first one. Playing is just unnatural. Since we aren't born knowing how to do it, it's a special activity that requires lots of training, and therefore it must require us to move in ways that are foreign to us. Let's stop and consider this for a moment. If we consider the experience of a newborn baby, we realize that we're not born knowing how to do most things, right? We learn them because we have a need or desire to, like walking, opening a jar, using a knife and fork, and so on. Now, we're biologically equipped and engineered to do all of these things quite reliably and successfully, even though at first they did require effort, practice, and sometimes formal instruction. But no matter how complex these actions or tasks may be, when learning them, we're not typically told to check all of our prior movement logic at the door and then learn some very special and arcane way of moving our bodies. We either learn by watching others, or if more instruction is needed, then someone explains how a particular object works and what the goal is, and we apply our existing vocabulary of movement to the task through practice. Now consider how we often think of learning to play an instrument, or perhaps how we learned ourselves. We think of training our bodies to do things that they can't readily do, like stretch and isolate. We're taught to put ourselves in a posture or even spread our feet apart a certain amount. But when was the last time you stretched or isolated your fingers to dial a phone? When you're putting your groceries on the conveyor belt, do you assume a fixed posture or consciously place your feet in a certain way? If you're skeptical about the existence of a natural approach to playing, or you just want to know more, I have another video that goes much more deeply into what we mean by physical logic, which I'll link to down below. And there are plenty of videos on the Till Project YouTube channel. But for now, if you're still firmly convinced that playing is inherently unnatural, I invite you into the following thought experiment. Even though, of course, it is possible to play in ways that don't harmonize with our innate physical logic, if there were a way of playing that didn't require us to do that, wouldn't most of us be at least a little interested? See if you agree with this statement. Using our bodies in ways they aren't designed to be used causes stress and inefficiency. Now imagine that stress and inefficiency piling up over thousands of hours of practicing and performing under pressure. I don't think it's a big leap to trace a direct line from that stress and inefficiency to a playing-related injury, including musicians' focal dystonia, though I'm not saying that it's the only factor. On the other hand, perhaps you're not at all on board with the idea that playing is inherently unnatural. On the contrary, you care quite a lot about your playing being as natural as possible. Maybe you do yoga, Alexander technique, or Feldenkrais. All of those things are great, and I do them too. Prior to developing dystonia, I did 10 years of Alexander technique and several years of daily yoga practice and 5 years of daily meditation and a few bouts of psychotherapy. And it was all very beneficial to my overall well-being, my ability to perform under pressure, and it helped resolve my shoulder pain. And as a result of all of that work, I considered my playing very natural and healthy. But I still ended up with dystonia. Why? Our musical training goes so deep that it's basically impossible for us to grasp how physically illogical it can often be unless we're given a direct experience of something else. So while we may have a higher than average degree of physical awareness and or take good care of our bodies and psyches generally, without an approach that addresses the precise mechanics of playing based on the specific demands of the instrument and the music, our efforts to be natural or healthy can only go so far. We don't just need to know how to sit, stand, and breathe according to our innate physical engineering. We also need to know how to play tenths, sautier, and solo Bach. So if I haven't completely alienated you yet, I'd like to offer some specific and by necessity quite basic examples of what I mean by natural playing. First of all, you can peruse my other videos or the Till Project YouTube channel for plenty of other examples, but for now, let's start with what we call walking hand and arm. So take any object you have lying around that has text on it and touch a word. Great, now touch another one and another one. Now, I'm obviously not in the room with you, but I have to say that in all of the times I have asked someone to do this or something similar, I have never once seen anyone leave their fingers down when they go between words. We let go and move the entire finger, hand, and forearm as a unit to the next spot, even when the spots are quite close together. It's just how we're designed to move. On the instrument, this letting go and the whole finger, hand, and forearm moving together is a component of what we call walking hand and arm, and it's the basic first premise for how the left hand and arm move around the instrument. So by itself, it's pretty clunky and slow, but we have tools for streamlining the movement and increasing the speed as the technique develops, such that we truly do not ever need to leave fingers down on the strings, except of course when we're playing double stops. Here's another example. Grab your opposite forearm. Now move your hand up and down your arm from your shoulder to your wrist. And notice what's happening in the forearm, wrist, hand, and fingers as you're rubbing. They're almost certainly staying in alignment no matter what part of the arm you're touching. You are probably also adjusting slightly over the fulcrum of your feet if you're standing, or sit bones if you're seated, in order to maintain this alignment as you move. Now you can also try breaking the alignment and seeing how strange it feels. So this is the principle of finger, hand, and forearm alignment in the bow arm, which by the way, we also observe in the left arm with walking hand and arm. And we can use it to move anywhere in the bow with an aligned finger, hand, and forearm unit and an accompanying movement over the fulcrum of the feet or sit bones. Hopefully, these examples of physical logic have given you a little sense of what we consider natural playing in the Till approach. As you can probably see, we're referring to a pretty specific set of physical principles which, while we rarely stop to observe them, are actually going on all the time in daily life. And this is crucial. For us to recover from a playing-related injury, including dystonia, we need to move beyond our habitual ways of moving around the instrument, which we quickly realize are more familiar than they are natural. In the end, it was the direct experience of this physical logic, the unassailable felt sense rightness of it, that kept me on the path to recovery from dystonia, even when I felt discouraged or skeptical. That kind of naturalness was a huge relief, since it made me realize that very little of what I had been doing before, albeit with the best of intentions, was actually native to my brain and body. For people who feel they were happy and comfortable in their old approach, this might be a harder sell. But even if that's true for you, would you be open to trying something new if the logic were really sound? And is it possible that while you got used to playing that way, it actually could feel even better? So that's what I have to say about natural playing. I hope this video has given you some things to think about. If so, please give it a like and share it with anyone you think could benefit. If you want to know more about dystonia recovery, you can subscribe to my channel. If you want to know more about healthy string playing in general, you can also subscribe to the Till Project. I'm Nora Crone, and my website is www.noracrone.com. Thanks everyone. See you next time.